We think that it could be a rare childhood cancer. I found my voice. I wasn't afraid of people. I had to because my children were on the line. The hardest thing to overcome was, okay, what are the reasons you are drinking? Eventually, you have to surrender. Coda for teamventura.com is like what the website is.
Okay.
COTA, which is COTA.
Okay.
It is Children's Organ Transplant Association, nonprofit charity group that's like based on the East Coast, and we raise funds for transplant-related expenses for their lifetime.
Welcome back to another episode of the Vibe with Humanity podcast. I'm here with Erica Ventura, and she's got some impactful and yet positive and gratitude-inducing stories to tell. So we're very excited to have her on today, and I'm really grateful that you came.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, I was just mom to 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then come, what year was it? 2007, I think. It was 2007 was when I found out that my kids had a genetic kidney disease.
Kidney
disease, yeah. So Maddox, he was about 1.5 years, maybe about 18 months old. And I had a well child check, like the standard ones you take your kids to. And he's always had like this, what I would call the Buddha belly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was getting bigger. And I'm like, something's wrong. Like something's wrong with him. And so I take him into the doctor and I said, like his abdomen's getting bigger. His veins look more like they're blue and they're bigger. And they were like, oh, kids at this age, like their body parts kind of grow at different rates. He'll just grow into himself. I told the doctor, I said, I'm not happy with that. Like that's not sitting right with me. So they said, okay, we'll do an x-ray. So we did an x-ray the next day, or actually that day right after the appointment, and came back. He had a big liver, huge spleen, and his kidneys were enlarged. And so they called me and they were like, you need to go get his labs done. So, told me what they saw on the x-ray. And so I go get his labs done. And he had low white, low platelets, low red cells. And they were like, this looks like textbook leukemia. So we did a bone marrow biopsy the following day to have his cells checked. Came back inconclusive. They sent it to the Mayo Clinic. They were like, we're just kind of stumped. We think that it could be a rare childhood cancer that we just don't have literature on. Then my dad, who I was like estranged from at the time, hadn't been talking to, found out about Maddox being in the hospital through my other siblings that still were talking to him. And he had a nurse friend that heard as well and was like, these symptoms seem like PKD, which is polycystic kidney disease.
Nurses are the shit.
I know, right?
They
really are.
They have a different type of instinct than any other healthcare worker.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, for sure. So when I went to the doctor, I said, we need to look at PKD. They check into it, comes back, yes, they have PKD, or he has PKD, and he also had an infection, which was why his numbers were funky. The prognosis at that point was Maddox would probably have a transplant when he was like 5 or 6. And then, before you know it, like 5 came, 6 came, still stable. Like the doctors were shocked that he was hanging on as long as he was. His function was stable.
Hanging on to the kidney?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they were like, at the rate he's at, like he will eventually get to hear about this age. He just got transplanted at 17.
Wow.
So we just kept going with it. And
what do you think it was? Like, what did you do to
I think what it was, nothing that I did. I just think they were wrong. They're not always right.
No.
They're humans.
Yes.
And they don't know everything.
And they definitely don't know your individual kid.
Right.
And they don't understand the nuances of behavioral changes if something's wrong and following the parental gut instinct and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I had several doctors looking at me sideways like,
okay, kid. Yeah.
Right. So when I got thrown into this world of like all of these head honcho doctors and people running programs, and like, they're 40 or 50, 60, and they're doctors. I'm just a kid raising kids and new to this world, but like never underestimate yourself in those situations. And I knew what I was talking about. And so, because I know my kids, and the instincts of a parent are so strong. And I think that a lot of times we just like push them down and suppress them, and we don't give ourselves enough credit.
How do you identify a parental instinct as something to listen to versus a paranoid thought or a fleeting thought? Have you developed any method of like, whoa, that was a very strong gut feeling I need to listen to versus, oh, I might be making that up?
I don't know. I really don't.
It's tough. I mean,
It is hard. It's hard. And it's also hard. Like, then you throw trauma into the mix. You're like,
no
am I
kidding.
thinking about something and this is from my trauma? Or is this like the voice I should be listening to that's like leading me in the direction of like where I need to go? But I often feel like when it's instinctual, there's just a knowing. Like
Yeah, I know
I
what
just
you mean.
know. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Where if it's paranoia, like I'm toggling with it.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm
Trying
like,
to sell yourself either
I'm
way.
back and forth. Like I'm paying attention to where's this coming from? How much am I having to talk myself into this? If I'm talking myself into it, like it's probably paranoia. Probably.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but it's just a knowing. But I became stronger. I found my voice. I wasn't afraid of people. I had to because my children were on the line. Like I fired doctors and nurses several times for nothing personal other than I want the best for my kid, and I paid attention to the instinct, and they're not invested, and someone else is out there for them. Their disease isn't super. There's not a lot of literature on it, at least back then. Back then there wasn't as much as there is now. I found like seminars. I went to like a transplant seminar and learned about like the transplant process and what that can look like. There wasn't really community with PKD, so I didn't have any like home base with like a person that I could relate to. And that became an issue, because now I'm living this life. I'm secluded. I'm young. I'm single and unrelatable is how it felt. And I eventually, like social media, got into Facebook, and I joined some Facebook groups. There was groups out there like PKD parents and children with PKD. And so I learned.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I learned a lot about the disease through their stories. And it is a disease with a very big spectrum. So we actually were really lucky. My kids are lucky to be alive. The mortality rate at birth is 50%. My drinking started a couple years after their diagnosis because that was the only time, like if I was drinking, oh my God, I was forgetting about it. I didn't have to think about it. And that increased over time.
Sure.
So yeah, it affected me a lot. And then I had this guilt. Like I'm drinking alcohol and I'm ruining my body. And I have 2 children that I'm doing everything I can to save their bodies and to keep them healthy. And I'm over here destroying it. Like that brought on a lot of guilt and a lot of shame.
How do you get the motivation to quit a 10-year habit like that?
I had tried to quit before, and I quit for like a year. And then your brain plays that trick and goes, "You're good. You can do this. You just."
And it's so subtle. It's not some big shining white light. Don't do it. Don't. It's just like, no, this is totally fine. This is
I'm like, okay, drink beer. You can drink beer. Can't drink beer. Definitely can't drink beer. Can't drink, period. I woke up one day and I was in my room, and I knew that I had taken my drinking further the night before than any of the other nights. So I was like, yeah, you're not good. And my daughter's friend came over, and it was, I think, the year anniversary after her dad had died. And she brought me flowers, and I couldn't answer the door because I was so sick. And she brought me flowers because she wanted to thank me for being so supportive and helping her get through the last year. And that was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like I can't show up. You can't show up. Here you are again, like missing this moment. And I know it's like, it wasn't my kids, but it was just this person trying to come to me with something really important, and I couldn't receive it because I had to hide.
Mm.
And that made me feel really, really terrible. And I'm like, I don't want to not be available for one more thing. And the shame, like I was so sick and tired of feeling shameful about stuff. And I just needed to get better. Like I needed some air. I got to be able to breathe. Like I'm sick of doing this shit to my kids. I'm sick of doing it to myself. And I had to let it be about me too. Like I needed to let my health be a priority. And instead of feeling guilty about it, instead of doing it for the kids, instead of, all those reasons, I had to just go, it's okay that you do this. I replaced my drinking with learning about myself. I was just listening to audibles and learning about like generational trauma. And I also wanted to understand my parents and how they came to be who they are, how to learn to forgive the things that I thought I wouldn't be able to forgive.
So with your kids, how do you cope? Like what methods did you develop to live with the amount of uncertainty of their health? And I can kind of relate to
Right.
the pain of that. And I think, I'd like to hear a little bit about, because you're very positive. And when you talk about it, there's no doom and gloom, there's no dreariness, there's no self-pity. And like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
music probably helps a lot.
Definitely music. For sure. The beginning part was a lot of dreary doom and gloom. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But eventually you have to surrender, which is a really, really hard thing to do. But it's like, if you're going to survive, surrendering, just being in control of it, like surrendering, knowing that you can't, that I don't know what tomorrow is. I don't know what next month is. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what it's going to pan out to be. And I'm worrying myself sick for what? What is my worrying doing? Nothing. Only negative. My worrying is like a false sense of control. If I worry enough, I'm going to be able to shift something
almost
here.
like a coping mechanism.
Yeah. I just, became really self-aware, knowing you're doing that again, Erica. Like you're going down that dark path. Like you're thinking about things too much. You're worrying about all the scenarios that could occur, like what it's going to look like, how they're going to react to it.
So you were catching the thought trains before they took. How did you build that skill of learning?
By not doing it for so many years, getting really good at going down the dark path. I knew what that looked like. And I knew that if I was going to be strong enough to handle the really hard moments, I had to get a grip on that. And I spent many years not having a grip on that and it sabotaging things. So that's really the only way, like, I knew how to do it was by screwing it up first.
It makes sense.
Right?
I know I don't want to feel like that, and I can tell when I'm drifting that way, so we're going to cut that off.
Yeah, or shit's going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
And so when you catch yourself, and you're like, oh, I'm going, what do you do in that moment?
I really I just talk myself out of it. I just remember, it's really that simple. I just remember this got you to a really bad place before, and you're not going to change the outcome of the circumstances by doing that thing. So just like breathe. A lot of just like breathing my way through it. Music.
Okay.
And we brought up music a minute ago.
Breathing, music, yeah.
Music's been huge for me. Like, I just put on the radio, not the radio, but my, Spotify, and I started listening. I mean, I've always listened to music. Even when I was younger, like getting through the divorce, this has been like the common thread through my life is music. Because they have a way. They articulate our feelings when we don't have the words. And it's like, oh, they get it. Like,
Yeah, you can literally
someone
process
validated me.
emotion through their melodies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I started listening to Nako, Trevor Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know Trevor
Oh,
Hall?
yeah.
For so long, I was looking at the whole staircase. Like, I'm down at the bottom floor
Yeah.
and I'm looking all the way up. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how to get to the top. And that is going to drown you.
Yeah.
Because you can't. You can't get all the way to the top in one step. So I just eventually learned to, it's just the next step,
That's awesome.
which is like the phone call I have to make. Or, okay, you got to go pick up prescriptions. Okay.
So really boiling things down.
Really small,
like
just little small things. Like I can do that thing and I can do that next thing, one thing at a time. And that's, you have to break it down into pieces.
So what are you excited about in life and going forward now? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to just really learning more about what I'm passionate about. Like, I know that I'm really passionate about people, and I love, like, this. I love learning about people's struggles and, like, sitting with them, even in the midst of it while it's happening. Like, that for me, I really am so grateful that I can be of service to people in that way. And it comes from having sat in so many dark moments my whole life. And like wishing that I had someone that could sit with me in the thick of that and relate and just sit in it, you know?
Yeah, don't try to fix it. Just be with me. Just
sit there. So I'm excited to see where my life takes me. I don't know where it's going. I'm just leaning in towards the next right thing that feels right. And I have faith that it will turn into what it's supposed to. So really paying attention to like my instincts about stuff and not being afraid. You know, I've spent so many years without a career. I've never had a career. I'm a stay-at-home mom and taking care of my kids. That's my life. Dealing with the medical world. But there's been this underlying thing that I've had all these decades, which is connecting with people. And I've seen over the last year things kind of blossoming for me a little bit. And that's what I'm excited about.
What good do you think has come from this?
For me, I have a depth that I don't think that I would have if I hadn't experienced all of the pain. And
Like an emotional depth?
Yeah,
you mean?
Emotional depth. And I just care a lot. I care a lot about people and their suffering. And I don't think that I would have it to this degree. And that's what's good to come from my own personal stuff. I can't speak for my kids quite yet about it. But I don't regret any of it. I'm super grateful for all of it.
I believe you. That's so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Damn it. I'm trying to cuss less, but
Oh,
I know what you're talking about, and you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, I can't
That's
help
so cool. Describe that a little bit.
Yeah.
Grateful for something that horrific.
Yeah,
right?
It's a hard concept for people to understand.
It is.
And I get that. I can appreciate it. But I just feel so much deeper. And I just think that everything that's happened has served my higher good. And it's going to be used in a way that needs to be. People need people. And I know people will need me to help them get through stuff. How can I use all of this pain and suffering and turn it into something good and make it something purposeful and I'm just excited to do that, honestly. And I
awesome.
do feel immense gratitude for all of it. I mean, all of it. The drinking problem, the, childhood abuse. Like, I know that sounds weird,
That's okay.
but it gave me profound care for people. I just
Yeah.
really don't want people to suffer alone. So
Well, I think this will be comforting to a lot of people today.
I hope so.
I think so, for sure.
Cool.
Especially finding gratitude and
Yeah.
finding the good things in tragedies like this that feels impossible from the outside looking in.
Yeah,
And
it
it feels
does.
impossible when you're in it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that I can speak for myself. It was
Right.
very hard for me when all that was going down to
Yeah.
find anything good. Now I can see a lot of good in it. I mean,
Right.
just even the changes in personalities, like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to enjoy the present moment or to be
Yeah.
nicer to people or to support people who are going through a hard time. That's all good that came from a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to go through that process too. There's no skipping over it. It's not like, oh, something terrible's happened. Because there's this thought of kind of what I call toxic positivity. It's like just trying to get past the feeling of this sucks and let's just be positive about it. It's like you can't do that.
Oh, not processing, just
yeah,
kind of
you
running.
have
and
to process.
You do
like
have to
the really
process.
this sucks, or else it's going to come back.
Oh yeah,
If you
it's
try
not going anywhere.
It's not going
You know,
anywhere.
you
It's going to
gotta-
seep out in ways.
Or it's going to rot you on the inside. You're
Yeah.
going to get health issues. No, you got to cry it out, yell it
Yeah,
out,
be pissed.
sit in it, not run from it. Yeah.
All of
it's-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
in
is-
order to get to the other side where you can feel
Yeah.
gratitude for it. So,
Well, I really appreciate you sharing all this. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to try ending with a question.
okay.
What if you could? What would you want people to say about you if you passed away?
Oh,
what would you
shit.
want to be remembered for? Not accomplishments, but hey,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Erica was
Like
blank.
who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to be remembered as someone who was integral, that
I like that.
meant what they said, loving, and brave.
That's awesome. I think you pushed that out today. I think people are going to be
Perfect.
picking up what you're putting down.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.